Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm Kim. Let's dive in. Here we go. So weird. I just froze. Did you see that?
Yeah, right when you click, right when it started recording, your screen froze.
Dang it. Well, hello and welcome back to the Market Mystics. We're so glad you're here.
And hopefully not frozen.
And hopefully not frozen. It is the winter in the Northern Hemisphere, so it's possible that it could be frozen.
It's true.
Yes. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing good. As you pointed out earlier, my voice sounds a little different. I was sick over Thanksgiving and then felt totally better. And then like a week after, I started coughing and having some just drainage. And then my voice has not recovered. Like this whole week I have been talking like this and it sounds like I'm like super sick at work. Jason was like, "Do you need to go home? Are you sick?" And I was like, "No, actually, I feel totally fine. I just feel like I'm losing my voice."
That's fair.
So
Well, it's just a little gravelly, a little more gravelly, but some people really like that in a radio voice. So maybe you're really going somewhere with this.
it's a little bit gravelly, but the louder I try to talk, it starts cracking. And so I was telling Bree last night, I was like, I feel like I'm going through puberty again.
That's fun. I need to turn my volume down so you can talk a little louder because I would love to hear that, Josh.
I'm sure you would.
What are we talking about today?
So I was thinking the other day, well, I saw like a reel where this person was like, "You'll never be able to convince me that my car doesn't go faster after I get an oil change." Um, and it made me think of a conversation I had had with someone a while back about like how you can take a car that you've had for years, and if you wash it and vacuum it and wax it and detail it, that the next time you get in it, you'll actually like significantly notice less of the things that used to bug you about your old car. And so I just wanted to see if you've ever had something like that where nothing technically changes that should make a difference, um, but somehow it feels totally different to you. Um, and then, yeah, I have a thought after that, but I was just curious, like, have you ever experienced that with like a car or cleaning your house or something like that?
Yes, this is going to be maybe this isn't a good example, but it's the example that comes to mind. And it was because it was pointed out to me the other day. And actually, Bree has pointed this out to me before too. Um, I have this thing where if I put on a blazer, even when I am wearing jeans and a t-shirt, I feel way more put together.
Yeah.
And nothing has really changed.
Yeah. Does
At all.
something changed in you?
Right.
Yeah.
Something makes that feel way different, like different level than jeans and a
Mhm.
t-shirt.
Yeah. Um, we are trying to figure out some stuff in our house. Um, and so Bree has been like deep cleaning everything, like one room a day. Just like I came home from work yesterday and our bedroom was all in pieces. The bed was in a different place, and she's like deep scrubbing the floor. Uh, and I walked in the door today and I was like, it smells different. It feels different. Almost feels lighter. Like it's kind of like that feeling of um, like I don't know if you've ever like cleaned out your junk drawer or taken 4 bags of stuff to Goodwill and your house, it's like your house thanks you. It's like it just there feels lighter even though
Yeah, just mhm.
it just shouldn't. Um, but that it like I think that is such an interesting phenomenon because it changes something that it shouldn't change. And maybe it's all mental, but I think there is an energetic component to this, where, like, I don't know, like, mm, especially with like cleaning out your house, there is a component of that that I think might go to actually an energetic level where it actually is a not as uh it's like a more spacious energy. It's a more free flowing energy. And I think like I'm thinking about that in like practical things, like, okay, what you're
Mhm.
wearing, your house, your car. But then I'm like, well, that's the whole point of going to like therapy or counseling or dealing with emotions, is that is a way of like putting on a blazer or cleaning out the stuff you need to take to Goodwill. Like that's
Mhm.
part of that process that then within you probably has that same effect that we feel when we do it to our property. Um,
Sure.
it's just been something I've been thinking about the past 2 days of like, why does that make a difference when I like deep clean my car? Why does my car feel different to me? Why does it feel like it drives different? It shouldn't affect at all how it drives.
Right.
um I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I think it has to do with bringing order to something that has maybe become a bit chaotic or just mundane. And so then feels out of order, you know? I think that's what kind of the bringing the newness to it does, is it aligns it in a different way or in a way that just feels better. So I do think it's an energetic thing. I do think that it has to do I do think it's a very much a kingdom principle. Like there is something about even kingdom order, things that when they're in order and not just existing in pure chaos, um, that they just work better. And um, it is pleasing to the mind, body, and soul, you know? I think that just happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think you're right. And I just it's such an interesting thing to me because I'm realizing the importance of order. I'm realizing the importance of having things properly positioned, whether that's my emotions or whether that's my finances or whether that's cleaning my car. Like,
Mhm.
um it makes a it makes a physical difference.
It does. I think it
And
makes a pointed difference for sure.
yeah, yeah. And I don't exactly know, like, I don't know exactly how to apply that to, I don't know exactly how to apply that to my spiritual walk or to life in general. Um, but it's, it's an important thing. And it's just been on my mind. And so I'm like, okay, somehow we got like this. I got to figure this out. I got to figure out why it's on my mind.
Let's unpack it. So I am reminded of my very favorite scripture in all of the Bible. It's in Romans, it's 12:2, and it's be transformed by the renewing
Mm,
of your mind, right? So it's first don't conform to the patterns and practices of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind so that you can do the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. But it has to do with a renewing. And I think this is exactly what you're talking about. So when you take your car that you've had for a long time and you clean it and you make it smell good and you get an oil change and it feels more new than it
mhm.
was a couple hours ago. It
Yeah.
is a renewing of your car and it transforms the energy in which it brings, like when you're with, like in that situation, it transforms that energy. And I think it it's that's exactly what is being talked about. Yes, from a spiritual perspective, like being transformed by the renewing of your mind. But that's exactly what it is. I think
Mm,
we do this spiritually. How many times can you say the same prayer over and over and over again? And at what point does it lose its power because it's too familiar?
mhm,
And then if you can renew that, all of a sudden it holds that same power again. You can transform it. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about. And it's not always about getting something, always having to trade for something new, but it is continually renewing what is already there.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's when you're saying continuing to renew what's already there. I mean, that just makes me think of uh, like immortality, like or long life. The, I've heard it taught that like the tree of life in the garden, that Adam and Eve would have experienced some form of aging, for example, but then they go to the tree and they're renewed. Their strength is renewed, their age is renewed. Um, so it's not necessarily a just perpetual youth, which I've also heard that taught too, but you're constantly going to the source to be renewed.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that's a like a beautiful way to think about it, whether it's your car, which mine could definitely use a bath this weekend. um, or that's um working through something mental with a coach to like bring a new mindset to a situation, um or that's your relationship with God and um maybe, yeah, like you said, like freshening up your prayer that you use every day, or changing a routine so that you renew something about it. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just a routine, like if you think about running, if you're running on a treadmill for 30 minutes a day, it might become pretty mundane. But when you have nice weather and you get to go run for 30 minutes outside, all of a sudden it doesn't feel mundane anymore. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And I think there absolutely are those things. And I think therapy is a really great example because it's not even purging things. It's not getting rid of the things that you hold within yourself, like some trauma, some mindsets, some feelings. It's not about getting rid of it, but it's kind of changing how it is, right? It's taking it and
Mhm.
renewing it so that it's going to serve you better,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what we do. That's what I do when I clean my car. It's not just so it looks pretty, it's so it serves me better, you know?
Mm,
And one of those ways is energetically. I'd never thought of it that way before now. But absolutely. Do I feel better about my car when it's been vacuumed and there's not dust on the dash? Yes, I do.
yeah, for sure.
Right. What about when somebody gets in and they're like, "Oh, your car still smells like it's brand new." I'm like, "Oh, great, it's 5 years old." I'm
Yeah.
so glad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is yeah, there's a mental component, there's a energetic component, there's an emotional component. Like I think it touches all areas. But the importance of, like you said earlier, bringing order to the chaos. So if that's vacuuming your car, if that's working on your mental health to have a like not to have that not be cluttered, like I think just in general order makes us as humans feel better, feel safer, feel like all the good emotions. Like I think that
Yeah.
that is um the order has a way of doing it. Like I think you can learn to thrive in a more chaotic, wild environment, but I think as a natural disposition, all humans thrive with some type of order.
I absolutely think you're right. Um, I've done there were years of my life that I did a lot of studying into like the psychology of personality, right? And in one of the kind of branches of what I was looking at, categorized people and their personalities in two different ways. Like people who really thrive with order and others who really thrive by living moment by moment. So more like planned and checklists and orderly versus free and like free flowing, um, that kind of stance.
Mhm.
However, what I learned in that, first of all, I appreciate the study of psychology and I appreciate personality tests and stuff like that. I just don't think it's a complete picture.
Mhm.
The reason I kind of got away from it, like I was really into it, is because I just don't think it measures the whole self. I think it measures only one part of you. Um, but I'm saying this to say that even in those two categories, even in the one that really likes to be free flowing, there's still an order that it's required there.
Mm.
And it's interesting the different levels or the different ways in which people see, I just said it's interesting. Uh, the different ways or levels at which people find that order or need that order. And it looks so different
Mhm.
according to the individual. A type A is going to be very like, eh, plan out your day, check the box when it's done, make a list, right? All of those kinds of things. Whereas a type B is going to look a lot different, but it's still order. It actually is. It just appears differently.
Mm.
Um, but I was going to say this about chaos. Um, I think it's an interesting concept. I would say even spiritually with chaos. And we talked about this. I don't remember what the episode was called. Had to do with sitting in the eye of the storm. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
It was right before the election. I'm pretty sure. Um and really being able to exist within chaos. But I think the thing that is a superpower of the human race is being able to bring order to that chaos. And I think that ability comes directly from our creator. Like in the beginning, there was a void and he brought order to it and he brought form to it and he brought function. Right. And we were made in his image. And I believe that it's our honor and our ability to co create as well, you know?
Mhm.
And, but I think in that is being able to exist within chaos. It's not that chaos doesn't exist. It is that can you function and can you bring order there without even having to be 100% disruptive and make it all about you.
Mm.
And that's an interesting place to sit because as someone who is at times a control freak, it's really hard to not try to make it formed into the image that you think it has to be or needs to
Mhm.
be. But within yourself and within your ability, can you bring order and still allow chaos to exist? And that may sound counterintuitive, but I really think it's necessary because chaos brings change. And I think in
Yeah.
order for us to continue forward and in order for us to ever see kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven, there's got to be some disruption.
Yeah. Well, I love what you were saying about like that's the pattern of the garden. That's the pattern of creation is um chaos is potential. Like it's just potential and you're the order with which you take that chaotic energy and give boundaries and order to it, you are defining the potential. Um
Yeah.
and yeah. And so I think like, yeah, I think that's helping like clear it up in my mind because I'm just like, well, why does it make a difference when I clean my car? Why does it make a difference when I clean my house? Um, And it's because I'm taking chaotic energy that has potential to be a lot of things. And I'm saying, this is what I want you to be. And then that energy is probably more settled. And I'm more settled in that energy because I've ordered it.
I think so. Do you remember? I don't. When did we do that book club with Paul Young? A year ago?
It was a while ago. Yeah.
I feel like it was a year ago. We did it over the book Eve,
Hmm.
which if you haven't read or if you haven't gotten, highly recommend. The imagery in which he writes for the Garden of Eden and the story of creation is spectacular. And he's writing as fiction, but I have to tell you that when I read it, there's something that stirs in me that goes, oh, there's some real truth in this. But I
Yeah.
think back to that story and just how he described God the creator forming Adam out of the clay, out
Mm,
of the like mud, the dirt, um, and what really went into that, and how taking something that was not in order and putting it into order brought him such joy and such pleasure. And he was so satisfied with that. And there was a deep connection to it because of what was brought into order. And I think it just fits so well into what we're talking about because it does. There's something energetically, there's something that makes you feel better when things get renewed, when things start coming into order. And but I think it's a reflection of how we were made and that we're made in his image, and that's how he feels about his creation. And I mean, I have to sit back and think about even when we're placed in these impossible situations and we cry out to God and he shows up, and there's that moment of connection where things have come into order and the recipient of the order and the maker of the order connect over that, and like what joy that brings, you know?
mm,
And I think it's a beautiful thing.
yeah. Moral of the story, go clean your car this weekend.
You
Because
needed to
it will bring order to your chaos and help you create with the creator in the most tangible, simple way.
I don't think okay. Do you ever feel like we just overcomplicate things all the time?
Yes. Yeah, that's been a big thing for me lately is um I know like this has been part of my relationship with Bree is like she's constantly saying, I think the gospel is simpler than we make it. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, yeah, like I think we do that. I think in an attempt to search for meaning, we try to complicate it so it feels more meaningful when
Mhm.
really the story is just, hey, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is spot on,
Mm,
truly. And I think this is what religion has served to do in history. I don't think it's what it was created to do, but I think that's what it has caused is like this overcomplication of something that is so simple,
yeah.
you know? I find myself this is a very weak connection I'm going to make, but just I'm going to make it. I've found myself in the last few years as someone who would have considered myself a foodie for all of my adult life. I found myself going back and appreciating such simple food
Mm,
recently. Like I can eat things that are elaborate and complicated. We just went to this beautiful French restaurant this weekend with some friends, and it was so good. And it was so well thought out. Just the food and the flavor and the textures and the different elements of taste that were included. But I was so very satisfied with my next meal at home when I had like tomatoes and cottage cheese. Like like such simple food, but it's so satisfying.
Mm,
Um, and it doesn't have to be so complicated to still be so satisfying and still bring pleasure in what you're doing and nourish in that way, I suppose is what I'm trying to say.
yeah. Yeah. That's good. I love the simpleness of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm,
I like complicated too. But at the end of the day, what do I really want? I do want the simple.
yeah. Yeah. It's not that the complicated can't be something, but doesn't need to be like not everything needs to be the complicated.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Mm,
Hmm. Interesting topic today.
yeah. Good stuff.
Okay. We also had a challenge to not say certain phrases during this episode, and I failed. And I
Twice.
think I probably, well, I said the word.
That's true.
I don't know that I said the phrase, but it's like 1.5 times I've failed. I haven't counted for Josh. I don't know that you've said any of this.
I've been intentionally trying not to.
Have you? Good for you. Well, this has been a very interesting conversation.
That's funny.
You guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking through this with us when we have all of our silly little side games and jokes that we do along the way too. We're real
Yes,
people, and we're
we
just glad
are.
you're here.
Yes, we are.
Okay, see you next
You
time.
guys.
Hey, thanks for listening. Keep up with us along this journey by liking, subscribing, and becoming a member through YouTube.
Members get exclusive access to bonus content with our guests, deeper dives into topics, and a look into other projects. We're glad to have you here. See you next time.